English podcast.
From Learn English with Joy.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to Learn English with Joy. I'm Chris, your friendly host who believes that English learning doesn't have to be fast or flawless. It just has to be human.
And I'm Emily. So happy to be here with you again. Whether you're walking, cleaning, or simply relaxing, we're glad you've chosen to spend this time with us.
So let's start with a simple but honest question. Have you ever felt like you have to be perfect all the time? Like, if your English sentence isn't 100% correct, then maybe you shouldn't say it at all?
Oh, I've definitely been there. When I was learning English, I used to think, if I make a mistake, people will laugh at me. So I stayed quiet. I edited every message 10 times before sending it. And honestly, it was exhausting.
That's exactly what we're talking about today, perfectionism. It's that silent pressure we put on ourselves to be flawless, to always get things right, or not try at all. And it doesn't just affect how we speak English, it affects how we see ourselves.
Yes, perfectionism can steal our confidence, our creativity, and even our joy. And the worst part is, it often hides behind good intentions. We say we just want to do well, but deep down, we're afraid we're not enough.
But here's the truth. You don't need to be perfect to be happy. You don't need to be perfect to speak English, or to grow, or to feel proud of yourself.
That's what this episode is about. We're going to explore what perfectionism looks like, where it comes from, and how we can let go of it. Little by little. And of course, we'll learn some gentle, helpful vocabulary along the way.
So take a breath. Let go of the pressure. You don't have to be perfect here.
You just have to be present.
Let's begin. When I think about perfectionism, I always remember this one moment from my school days. I was sitting in my English class. We had to do a short speaking activity. The task was simple. Describe what we did over the weekend, just 2 or 3 sentences. But for me, it wasn't simple at all. I had something to say. I wanted to say it. But inside my head, a little voice said, "What if you say it wrong? What if the grammar isn't? What if people laugh?" So I said nothing.
Oh, I know that voice. I've heard it too. Mine showed up in university every time I had to write a formal email in English. Just a short message to my professor, maybe asking a question or confirming something. It should have taken me 5 minutes, but it didn't. I would write it, then delete it, then write again, then change kind regards to best regards, then back again. I spent 3 whole hours on a message that was only 5 lines long. 3 hours?
Wow. I thought I was the only one who did that. I used to feel so frustrated with myself after those moments. Like, why can't I just speak like the others? But the truth was, it wasn't about ability. It was fear.
Exactly. That fear of not being good enough, of not being perfect. And the more we listened to it, the more it grew. For me, it wasn't just about the email. It became about everything. Every assignment, every presentation, even casual conversations with classmates. I felt like I had to get everything right the first time. And if I didn't, then I felt like I failed.
Same here. I remember one day our teacher asked us to describe our favorite movie. I loved the topic. I was excited. But then I started thinking, what if I use the wrong tense? What if I forget a word? And so I passed. I said, I don't have anything to say. But deep down, I did. I just didn't think it would be perfect enough.
That's the trap, isn't it? Perfectionism convinces us that if something isn't perfect, it's not worth doing. So we freeze. Or we overwork. Or we quit before we even start.
It's like trying to walk across a room, but only allowing yourself to take the step if you're 100% sure you won't stumble. And guess what? You never move.
That's such a good way to put it. And the saddest part is, we think perfectionism makes us better. We think it pushes us to improve. But actually, it just makes us tired, tense, small.
Exactly. It shrinks us. It stops us from learning, growing, trying. And the worst part? It makes us forget that we're already enough, even with the flaws, even with the messiness.
I remember one night, after rewriting the same email for the 10th time, I just sat there and cried. Not because of the email itself, but because of the pressure I was putting on myself. And you know what I realized?
What?
That I was treating myself like a machine, not a human. I wasn't allowing space for mistakes, or growth, or even kindness.
Wow. That hits deep. I think a lot of our listeners can relate. Whether you're writing an email, speaking in class, or just trying to learn a new word, that pressure to get it perfect can feel so heavy.
Yes, and we carry it silently, don't we? Because from the outside, everything looks fine. But inside, we're second-guessing every word, every choice, every step.
That's why this episode matters. Because perfectionism isn't just about grammar or pronunciation, it's about the way we see ourselves and the way we speak to ourselves.
And today, we want to start changing that voice. From, I have to be perfect, to, I'm allowed to be learning. From, this isn't good enough, to, this is a step forward.
Because it is. Every word you say, every mistake you make, it's a step forward.
Even listening to this podcast right now, that's a step. And it's more than enough. Now let's talk about the heart of today's topic, perfectionism. Perfectionism is the belief that anything less than perfect is not acceptable. It sounds simple, but this belief can shape the way we act, think, and learn, especially when it comes to learning English.
Yeah. And the tricky thing is, perfectionism often hides itself. It pretends to be high standards or just wanting to do your best. But it's actually fear in disguise, fear of being judged, fear of failure, fear of not being enough.
Let's break it down. There are 3 common types of perfectionism we often see, especially in learners like us. First, fear of making mistakes. People avoid trying new things because they're scared of getting it wrong. They think, if I can't do it perfectly, I won't do it at all. Second, the need for approval. You might feel like you always need someone to say, good job, in order to feel okay. Without it, you feel uncertain or not worthy. Third, never feeling satisfied with yourself. Even when you do something well, your mind quickly says, it's not enough. You could have done better.
I hear this all the time from English learners. They say things like, I can't speak until my grammar is perfect. I can't write unless I know all the right words. I studied for hours, but I still feel behind.
Exactly. And the saddest part is, they're actually doing really well. But perfectionism blocks them from seeing their own progress.
That's why we need to talk about this, because perfectionism doesn't push us forward. It holds us back.
But the good news is, once we recognize it, we can start to change it. Step by step. Exactly. And the saddest part is, they're actually doing really well. But perfectionism blocks them from seeing their own progress.
That's why we need to talk about this, because perfectionism doesn't push us forward. It holds us back.
But the good news is, once we recognize it, we can start to change it. Step by step. But before we talk about how to let go of it, we need to understand where it comes from. Because perfectionism doesn't just appear out of nowhere, it has roots.
And most of those roots are deeper than we realize.
Let's start with the first one. Social pressure. We live in a world that praises results. Perfect grades, perfect performances, perfect English. From a young age, we're told to be the best. And even when we do well, we're often asked, can you do better next time?
Right. And this pressure doesn't always come from other people. Sometimes it becomes part of how we see ourselves. We start thinking, if I don't do this perfectly, I'm not worthy.
Another cause? Comparison, especially on social media. We see people speaking fluent English, getting scholarships, posting perfect videos. And without realizing it, we think, why can't I speak like that? They're younger than me, and they're already fluent. I'll never catch up.
But what we forget is, people usually only post the highlights, the best takes, the best angles, the wins, not the struggles. So we end up comparing our behind the scenes to someone else's show reel.
Exactly. And that leads to the third root, the inner critic, that voice in your head that says, not good enough. Try harder. You should be further by now.
I know that voice very well. It sounds like it wants to help, like it's pushing you to be better. But really, it just makes you feel small. It makes learning feel like a test you'll never pass.
And that brings us to the consequences, the damage that perfectionism causes if we're not careful.
One of the biggest consequences? Giving up too soon. When your goal is perfection, everything feels impossible. So instead of trying, people just stop. They stop speaking, stop writing, stop learning.
Yes, because the pressure becomes too heavy, and that leads to another effect, feeling stuck, paralyzed, frozen. You want to move forward, but the fear of not doing it perfectly keeps you from even starting. What if I fail? What if I embarrass myself? What if I sound silly?
So you wait, and wait, hoping one day you'll feel ready. But that day never comes, because the fear keeps growing.
And while we're stuck in that loop, our confidence slowly fades. We start to believe, maybe I'm just not good at English. Maybe I'll never be fluent. And that belief becomes stronger than the truth.
Which is, you are capable. You just don't have to be perfect to grow. In fact, mistakes are part of the growth.
But perfectionism makes you forget that. It tells you that your value is tied to performance, to flawless sentences, correct grammar, fancy vocabulary.
And that's not true. Your value is not measured by how few mistakes you make. It's measured by your effort, your courage, your consistency.
So if perfectionism is holding us back,
If it's stopping us from learning, speaking, and enjoying the journey,
we have to ask both. So, if perfectionism holds us back, how do we begin to break free from it?
that's a big question. And the answer isn't just stop being a perfectionist. It's more about building a new way of thinking, one that's kinder, gentler, more human.
Let's start with something simple but powerful: progress, not perfection. That means focusing on small steps, not flawless results.
Right. Instead of thinking, my sentence must be perfect, think, my sentence just needs to be spoken.
Speak, even if it's messy. Write, even with grammar mistakes. Because those messy sentences, they're signs that you're practicing, and practice is how we grow.
I used to wait until I felt ready to speak in English, but I realized, ready never really comes. I had to start speaking even when it felt uncomfortable.
Yes, and here's the truth. You don't learn to swim by reading about water. You learn by getting in, even if it's awkward at first.
The second shift we need is learning to let go of unrealistic expectations.
Perfectionism tells us, you must impress. You must sound smart. You must not make mistakes. But that's not real learning. That's performing.
You don't have to impress anyone, you just have to express.
Exactly. When we try to look perfect all the time, we disconnect from ourselves. We become so focused on how others see us that we forget to ask, how do I feel? What do I need?
And what we often need is self-acceptance, the ability to say, I'm doing my best, and that's okay.
That brings us to our third point. Practice self-acceptance. This means making space for imperfection and still being kind to yourself.
I used to think flaws meant failure, but now I believe what you once told me. Flaws are not failure. They're human.
Thank you for remembering that. Because it's true. Everyone has awkward moments, forgotten words, misunderstood grammar. But that doesn't mean you're broken. It just means you're growing.
And here's a tool that really helps me stay grounded. Affirmations.
Yes, me too. Affirmations are like little gentle reminders for your brain. Simple sentences that help reframe your thoughts.
My favorite one? I am doing my best, and that's enough today.
Beautiful. Mine is, I don't need to be perfect to be proud.
Listeners, you can create your own affirmations. Say them out loud in the morning. Write them in your notebook. Whisper them before you sleep. Words shape how we feel, especially the ones we say to ourselves.
And the last tip we want to share today is this: celebrate small wins.
This one changed everything for me. I used to only feel proud when I reached big goals, like passing an exam or giving a perfect presentation. But I was missing all the little victories along the way.
Yes, like speaking one sentence in English, even if your voice shakes, or learning one new word and using it in real life. Those are wins. They deserve to be seen.
You spoke a sentence? That's a win. You asked a question, even with broken grammar? That's a win. You showed up to learn today? That's a win too.
Because learning is not a race, it's a path, and every step counts, even the small ones.
So let's quickly review. To break free from perfectionism, we can 1. Focus on progress, not perfection. 2. Let go of unrealistic expectations. Practice self-acceptance. Use affirmations. 5. Celebrate small wins.
If you choose even just one of those today, you're already growing. And that's enough.
You don't have to be perfect to be proud of yourself.
You don't have to be perfect to belong.
You just have to keep going.
If you choose even just one of those today, you're already growing. And that's enough.
You don't have to be perfect to be proud of yourself.
You don't have to be perfect to belong. You just have to keep going.
And maybe you're wondering now, okay, but how do I actually apply this to my English learning?
Great question. Because perfectionism loves to hide in our language journey. It tells us things like, don't speak unless your grammar is right. Don't write unless you're sure of every word.
But here's what I've learned. Sometimes the best way to grow is to do it imperfectly.
Yes. For example, try this. Record yourself speaking. Just talk about your day, your feelings, or what you're learning. Don't plan too much. Don't aim for perfect grammar. Just speak. Then listen back, not to judge, but to notice how brave you are.
I love that. And here's another one. Write a short journal in English, even just 2 or 3 lines a day. Don't overthink. Don't correct every single line. Let it be real. Let it be you.
Because guess what? The goal isn't perfect English.
It's real connection.
Yes, connection with others and with yourself. When you stop chasing perfect, you make space for progress, for confidence, for joy.
And learning becomes lighter, more human, more fun.
So wherever you are in your English journey, beginner or advanced, fast or slow, just keep taking small steps.
And remember, you're not learning to impress. You're learning to express.
To share who you are, and who you are is already enough. So now, let's slow down. We've talked a lot about perfection, fear, growth. Let's take a moment to reflect and learn a few beautiful words from today's episode.
These aren't just English words. They're reminders. They carry emotion. They carry truth. Let's whisper them gently together.
Self-worth is the deep belief that you matter, just as you are. You don't need perfect grades or perfect English to be valuable. You already are. Example, I stopped chasing approval when I discovered my self-worth. Let's whisper that together. I discovered my self-worth. Feel the strength in those words.
To overthink means to think too much, so much that it creates stress or self-doubt. Example, I used to overthink everything I said in English. Say it gently, overthink. Now repeat, I used to overthink everything. But now, I give myself permission to try, even when it's not perfect.
An affirmation is a kind, positive sentence we say to ourselves, especially when we need encouragement. Example, my morning affirmation is, I am enough, just as I am. Say it with me, quietly. I am enough, just as I am. You don't need to earn that truth. Just believe it.
Gentle means soft, kind. not just in voice, but in how we treat ourselves, especially on the days we struggle. Example: I'm learning to be more gentle with myself on hard days. Now slowly. Gentle. Whisper with me. I'm learning to be more gentle with myself.
To reflect means to pause, to think about your experience, and learn from it. Example: I like to reflect on what I've learned at the end of each day. Say it softly. Reflect. And now, I reflect on what I've learned. And that's how I grow.
So, which word felt true for you today?
Was it self-worth? Affirmation? Maybe just the courage to be gentle?
Whatever it is, carry it with you.
Let that word be your quiet reminder. You're learning. You're growing. You're enough. So, before we say goodbye today, we want to remind you of one simple truth.
You don't need perfect English to be a real English speaker. You just need real effort, real practice, a real heart.
Exactly. Every time you speak, even if it's just one sentence, you're making progress. You're getting braver, stronger, closer to fluency.
I used to wait for the day I felt ready, but honestly, that day never came. I only started growing when I let go of perfection and just began speaking.
Yes. And sometimes your progress won't feel big, but even the smallest step matters.
Nelson Mandela once said, "It always seems impossible until it's done. So don't give up, especially on the quiet days. That's where real change begins."
You are learning, you are trying, and that's already a victory.
So here's our challenge for you today. Say one sentence in English, just one. It doesn't have to be fancy or perfect, just honest.
Maybe it's "I'm learning English," or "Today I choose to try." Whatever it is, let it come from your heart and say it out loud.
Because speaking one imperfect sentence today is better than staying silent, waiting for perfect.
We're so proud of you. Keep going, keep growing.
And as always, thank you for learning with joy. See you next time.